Good morning. I come to you today from my beautiful office here at Prophetstown Elementary. Today I want to talk about Chapter 7, which is the next chapter. And Chapter 7 is all about safety and body mechanics. When we talk about safety in healthcare, we're not only talking about the safety of our residents, patients, clients, we're talking about the safety of us as healthcare providers. So, we need to make sure that we're being proactive about safety and doing things to prevent injuries and illnesses and those sorts of things. That's why what do we do to prevent illness? We wash our hands, we use universal precautions or standard precautions, we do all those sorts of things. But if we're not preventing accidents, then we're not keeping our residents or ourselves safe either. So, one of the main, or I should say, the main cause of injuries in long term care facilities is falls. So, this chapter discusses a lot about falls. And so, in your text, in a green section, is a um, kind of list of things that we can do to help prevent falls. I'm going to tell you the number one thing that I think we can do to prevent falls, and that is to pay attention. Pay attention to our residents. Pay attention to our call lights. When we get a resident, when we're in with a resident, we get done taking care of them, we make sure they have all their needs met. Because the majority of falls in resident rooms happen when, number one, we've ignored their call light and they've had it on and they want to go to the bathroom. So they'll get up and they'll fall. Number two, oh, we left the box of Kleenex on the other side of the room. And so they need to blow their nose. And so they get up to get their Kleenex to blow their nose. Or they need a drink of water. Or they need their TV remote. Before we leave a room, and when we get to the clinical phase, I promise you I will absolutely say this every day. Does everyone have everything they need before we leave them? Do they have their call lights? Do they have their Kleenex? Do they have their glasses, their glass of water, their TV remote, their whatever? In order to help prevent falls, falls happen because we aren't paying attention. So, super important that we learn to do those things, and we will work on those together. Another thing we talk about in this chapter is resident identification, and I kind of alluded to that in class not too long ago about, if we give a resident the wrong food, for example, it can be very dangerous. If we, you know, go in to take care of a resident and we think we're taking care of Bill and Bill can walk with a walker, and we're not taking care of Bill, we're taking care of Joe, and Joe can't walk, we sit Joe up on the side of the bed, go to stand him up, and he falls, that's a problem. We need to know which resident we're taking care of and what their care entails. Um, so resident identification is a big piece to safety. In addition, burns and scalds. Our residents have some loss of sensation, and when we get to our neurological chapter, we'll talk about that. Many of them have what's called peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral means away from the body or from the center of the body, so it's arms and legs basically. Neuropathy means that their nerve system doesn't function properly and it doesn't send the signals like it's supposed to. And I have peripheral neuropathy from chemotherapy, where the chemotherapy attacked the covering of the nerves to my hands. And so I have some numbness and tingling in my hands. It's gotten a lot better, but I still have it. Many of our residents develop that over time as a side effect of diabetes, and some of it is just aging. But because of that, they don't have the sensation that you normally would have. And so hot isn't as hot to them, but it is as hot to their skin. It doesn't feel as hot, but it is as hot. So scalds and burns are really common in long-term care facilities. I literally watched a person one time. Um, they were doing something with their tea. They had a cup of hot water, and they were making their tea, and somehow they poured it over their hand, or spilled it onto their hand, and they just sat there. They didn't even feel it. That hand developed major blisters across the top of the hand, in between the fingers. It was pretty bad burn, third degree burns. So burns and scalds are super, super dangerous in long-term care as well. In addition, we talk about poison prevention. Many, many years ago, I was working in a nursing home as director, and I got a phone call in the middle of the night that a resident had drank a bottle of liquid potpourri. She had wheeled into someone else's room, and they had a bottle of liquid potpourri sitting there on their table, and she drank it. Fortunately, it didn't cause her any harm. We called poison control. You know, it was fine, but I think it might have given her diarrhea for a day or so. Um, but it can happen with these folks because with dementia, they don't necessarily understand that that's not something you drink or that's not something you eat. So poisonings do occur. We also talk about choking and choking prevention. Um, Terms like dysphagia and aspiration are in this text. Please know those terms, know what those means. No, excuse me, know what those mean. Dysphagia is spelled Dyphagia. Okay, learn what that term means because you will hear it a lot. Aspiration as well. And in the chapter, it talks about ways that we prevent aspiration. Keeping our residents sitting upright. They shouldn't eat laying down. Assisting them to eat slowly. Cutting food into small pieces. All of those things can help with choking. In addition, other injuries, things like cuts. You know, our resident skin is very, very sensitive, and so having sharp objects or handling their skin roughly can cause skin tears and injuries. So these are all things that we'll talk about, that chapter 7 will talk about. Your homework includes the um, multi-choice or multiple choice question worksheet that we do every chapter. It includes the chapter review questions at the back of chapter 7 in your textbook. Please do that. I think about 5 or 6 of you didn't do that last chapter, and it was 28 points. So make sure that you do that. I'm sorry, not last chapter, chapter 3. Sorry, I'm making this before we're even meeting for chapter 4, meeting to talk about chapter 4. So I'm a little bit ahead of myself. There is a safety data sheet attached to the email down at the bottom. I need you to look at that, and then there's questions on the worksheet. There's a separate sheet that it got handed out to you about that SDS. All I need is page numbers. I do not need you to write out the information. I just need what page did you find that information on, okay? And then there's also some questions regarding the fall video. Falls, as I said, are the #1 cause of injury in nursing homes. And so you absolutely, absolutely have to know about falls and how to prevent them. So there is a video on falls. I thought it was well done, actually. So there you go. That's basically your homework. There's another video as well on fire prevention and fire safety. We will chat in class, going over our workbook about some other things, and that's it. So have a good week, and I will see you next Monday and Tuesday. Please, everyone, be there. Be there on Monday with your homework done. Thanks, and have a good weekend. or have a good day.